joining us is Congresswoman Shelley Pingree from Maine, also on the Appropriations and Agriculture Committee. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Sure, happy to be here.
All right, you represent Maine's 1st congressional district, which includes the city of Bedford, where an ICE agent was fatally shot in his car, fatally shot a man in his car on Monday. The victim was a 26-year-old from Colombia. His father said his son was in the U.S. illegally and was authorized to work. I wonder, what additional info do you have about the victim and the circumstances around the shooting?
Well, people are extremely upset in my state, and particularly in the city of Biddeford, which is a long history of immigration and very welcoming towards the immigrants in that community. And our feeling is that no one should leave for work in the morning and a few doors down from his house be shot and never see their 3-year-old daughter again. So it's been a devastating shooting, as you said, by all accounts, and I don't know exactly, but this person was legally allowed to be working in this country, and also ICE shot the wrong person, not the person they were seeking, but another individual. So there's a thorough investigation going on, or let me put it this way. ICE has promised us a thorough investigation, and we are also pushing for a parallel investigation on behalf of the state, and the Attorney General has announced that he will do that. So we're hoping to get all the facts out there, but people are extremely upset, and this follows a pattern in my district of ICE picking up an increasing number of people who are legally allowed in this country but often end up in detention.
Now, I want to ask you about that because on Wednesday morning, the Department of Homeland Security said in a statement that the victim had illegally entered the U.S. On September 1st, 2023 via the southern border and was released into the country under the Biden administration. The statement also said that, to be clear, work authorization does not confer legal status in the United States. I wonder, Congresswoman, what's your response?
Again, I don't have the records on this individual, but I can tell you in many cases like this, people cross into the border, they legally apply for asylum. That is your only, quote, legal pathway to do this. They are waiting for their asylum case to be heard in court, and they are given work authorization. My office handles numerous cases like this every week, every year, and so this is likely one of those. So to say that there was anything illegal about this person is wrong. Even if there was any illegality going on, it is no justification to shoot a person where, by ICE's account, the car was driving away from the agent and the agent shot them for public safety, not because he feared his own safety. Nothing in this case sounds good.
Quickly, is it clear to you whether ICE and the federal authorities are cooperating with state and local investigators? We know that that was an issue that state and local investigators in Minnesota had when they had ICE flare-ups earlier this year.
As far as I know, the state and local authorities were on the scene as quickly as possible, have been pushing for that level of cooperation, and do have access to some information. Now, as this investigation proceeds, we will find out if we need more of that. But I will say our entire delegation on both sides of the aisle has asked for full cooperation through the Secretary with our state and local authorities, because, as you said, Minnesota only had the release of some of that information actually on the very day this individual was shot.
Now, I want to ask you about the issue of body cameras. The Maine's Attorney General's office, which is leading the investigation into the shooting, confirmed to CBS after a public records request that there is no body or dash camera footage depicting the use of deadly force in this case. ICE has yet to fully equip their agents with body-worn cameras, despite that Congress approved $20 million. Why do you believe that there is this delay to give ICE agents cameras?
There is no possible excuse for this. This money was included in the big ugly bill, so they had sufficient funds. They've tried to use the excuse of a government shutdown for delaying this, but my guess is you could order one on Amazon tomorrow and have it at your house the next day. So to say there has been this delay is no excuse for what went on there. You know, I was talking to the mayor of Biddeford, and he said their budget for the police department, I think, was around $5 million. They've managed to equip their own police department since 2018. So the idea that these ICE agents who appear not to have sufficient training, who are involved in controversial shootings of people who should be legally allowed, or American citizens, the fact that they don't have body cameras yet is an outrage.
Now, yesterday, the president overturned a DHS policy that temporarily paused vehicle stops, which is what was involved in this specific case. after some outrage from the right. What was your response to the president intervening like this?
It was like utter craziness. I mean, at least the Department of Homeland Security had made a good decision to say we're going to do a pause, make sure our training is sufficient, make sure we're using proper procedures, which is what people have been asking for. And then the president gets on his, dumbass post and says, okay, now we're overturning that because we need to meet our quota and pick up more people. And that, in my opinion, is what is driving a lot of this. They have a quota of 2,000 a day, so they're doing these reckless stops. It's more likely to cause the kind of problems that we're seeing, and this should not be happening in my state or any other state.
Do you believe that the ICE agents involved in the shooting should be suspended or charged?
Well, they should absolutely be on administrative leave right now. There's no question of that. And in any other law enforcement...
Do you know if they are under administrative leave?
I believe so, but I have not had that confirmed to me. I know that our Attorney General is investigating this, and we are trying to get all the information we possibly can. But there should be a thorough investigation of whether this person acted properly and whether any of them in the entire, field of new recruits and huge increases in the number of ICE officers, whether any of them have the proper training on the procedures regarding difficult situations like this one.
Some Democrats are calling after these two events for to abolish ICE. What's your response?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been believing them for a while, and it's not that we don't need law enforcement in our country or that we don't need someone who is there to deal with, drug traffickers and child traffickers and murderers and all the other things that go on. But we do not need an agency that is extremely overfunded, poorly run, has increased the number of ICE officers and private detention facilities, all to meet the whims of a White House's quotas on changing the face of immigration in this country.
Now, Congresswoman, we have about 1 minute left before we turn to the House. I want to ask you, changing subjects here, you were one of 103 Democrats to vote for an amendment offered by Representative Thomas Massie that would have eliminated $3.3 billion in military assistance to Israel. Why was that your vote?
Look, we have had a long history here of trying to be supportive of Israel, but after what's gone on in Gaza and the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu, I think so many of us are frustrated that the United States isn't standing up and using our leverage and pressure to get that government to do the right thing, and that's why we stood up and took that vote.
What did you make of the House Democrats, including the leaders, Hakeem Jeffries, and the minority whip, being so split on the vote?
Look, we're a big tent, and people had a variety of concerns about some of the aid included in there because we want to make sure that humanitarian aid and diplomatic aid was getting out. And I understand that there were some concerns about some of the intricacies of what was included in that amendment. But for many of us, we were saying we need to make a statement and we need to let our constituents know that we hear what's on in Gaza, what's going on in the West Bank, and our deep level of concern about the conduct of Benjamin Netanyahu and the current Israeli government.
And Congresswoman, my last question for you is, which I may have to cut you off of, is on the Senate race in your state. Have you endorsed a candidate that is running to replace Graham Plattner?
I don't endorse in primaries, and I know we have a very lively process going on at our state convention, and numerous people, enormous numbers of people are signing up to be delegates because they want to keep participating in this process. Democrats are very active this year, and they're going to go to the polls.
Now, one top contender includes Troy Jackson, a DSA endorsed gubernatorial candidate, who lost in the primary in a longtime state legislature. Obviously, DSA has been a topic of Democratic politics for the last month. I wonder, is DSA association a concern for moderate voters in your state?
When people talk about DSA, they use it as a buzzword, but if you ask the people in my state how they feel about universal access to health care and making sure that we have school meals for every kid in our state, that affordable housing and child care is available to people, all of a sudden some of the socialist principles sound pretty good to them. And I think the problem is people get caught in the buzzwords. We need to talk about the actual policies and principles that people stand for.
All right, Congresswoman Shelley Pingree of Maine, 1st Congressional District, thank you so much for being with us this morning.